Got my ticket for Monster Palooza, Zach. Did you get yours?
I actually have not gotten my ticket yet, but thank you for reminding me. I forgot.
I haven't got mine either.
You got until the 31st before
I've
the
been
early
sick.
bird prices go.
I got another fucking flu. I'm just getting over it. It's not been fun. But yes, I'm excited for Monster Palooza. Chris, you have to join us.
Okay.
It's in June.
No problem.
Fly in. So those of you that are local to the California area or feel like flying in, guests include Robert Englund, Bruce Campbell,
Oh my God.
Doug Jones, Firuza Balk, fucking Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows. Jesus Christ, that's new. And our guest of honor for today's show. He's not on the show, but he's the person we are honoring. Mr. Tom Savini. Yes. So
it's a better lineup than when I went.
You can meet Andale Lady from Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4, and you can meet Tom Savini at the same convention. You can meet me and Zach at the same convention. We're not gonna have a table or anything. We're gonna be walking around. That shit's expensive, man. Tickets expensive enough.
Really, what more do you need than to meet me and Casey? Lifelong dream fulfilled.
It'd be a lot shorter line than Robert Englund, I'll tell you that much.
Andale.
Non-existent line.
I'm gonna be mad if more people are there to meet the Andale Lady than us, though. That's gonna...
I hate to break it to you, Casey. There are definitely people there to meet.
No, I know, definitely, 100%. But yeah, we are closing out Savini Month, which means at the end of this episode, be sure to stick around because we're going to pick our next month's theme. We are closing out Savini Month with a very troubled production, but one that was an important evolution in his career. The Tom Savini directed Night of the Living Dead remake. Hit the music.
Welcome to another Mishable podcast, Horror Decomposed. My name is Zach. Thank you for joining us. If this is the first time you've ever joined the show, hi, we're a horror podcast. We talk about new movies and retrospectives and all sorts of stuff. You know, your typical fun, miserable horror podcast. Joining me, as always, the man you heard at the beginning of the show, the one and only, some people call him terrible, Professor Casey.
Yeah, man. I even on WWE 2K23, Casey the Terrible is what the announcers announced me as. Good times.
I wasn't taking a dig at Casey. That is a moniker that he has championed himself.
Right up there with Ivan the.
Yes, and Jason the. That's who I aspire. I aspire for Jason the status more than Ivan.
Also with us, of course, the Criterion Kid, the moving one.
Yeah.
Chris Pistol. How's the move going?
The only evidence of which is a missing picture behind me. Other than that, not much has gotten moved yet. Not much has gotten boxed up yet.
What's like the official big move day? Is that like tomorrow?
Next weekend. We're doing it in 2 days.
Weekend. Okay.
We're doing
shoot.
Saturday small stuff and then Sunday big stuff.
And you found help. You found hands that can move things for you.
I hope so.
Remember, those child labor laws are gone.
I've gotten tentative volunteers.
See, you need to find an Igor to move to the laboratory.
Yeah, I know. I need a willing slave who will do anything for bugs.
Yes, master. Of course.
Yes, master. Anything. Instead, nowadays it's always like, yeah, I think we can make that. And I'm like, you think or you can? Because I don't want to
totally
just wake up
out there.
I don't want to just wake up and it just be me.
Yeah, definitely. Moving is scary sometimes, man.
It's scary, but I kind of like it in a weird way. I'm masochistic in that way.
What's the most difficult thing to move in your apartment? Is it the bed?
Actually, it'll probably either be the couch or just because getting it out of our apartment, going outside into the breezeway and then down 3 flights of stairs, or my wife's insanely heavy dresser.
Ooh.
Slash
oh
vanity.
God, dude! I had to help my brother move into his apartment he's currently in with my sister-in-law, and they had a heavy ass dresser that they were getting from somebody. They were like getting a new dresser. That thing weighed a shit ton, and getting it into the car, like it barely fit. Like I didn't think it was gonna work. They made it work somehow.
Surprised you got into a car.
Dude. And then we had to go up we had to go upstairs.
Oh yeah.
I think this was it would not fun. Not fun.
Yeah, I'm glad we're doing it in 2 days because I can move all of my books and movies myself. Because last time I definitely did feel some guilt of making people just carry all my books. They were just like, "What is this again? It's so heavy," and I'm like, "It's books." It's like, "Why did you?"
I will give you one piece of advice, Chris, to you and Melody. Do not do a leg workout the day before you move.
Oh God, no!
You will not be able to move the next day. I made that mistake before, helping my brother move a different time. I did a leg workout like either the day before or the day of, and I had to go up and down flights of stairs helping him move furniture. I was dead the next day. Like I was bedridden.
Yeah, sounds awful.
I could not walk.
But were you living dead the next day?
Oh, look at that segue.
From the horrors of moving to the horrors of zombies.
Let's get into it. This is our feature scare.
They came to pay their respects.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Why do you have to be so cruel?
What?
Show some respect.
Now they're running for their lives.
A biologist in Stockton, California have released reports focusing on the phenomenon, specifically on that trance-like state.
Every shelter is becoming a trap.
Are you sure we're gonna be all right?
Cooper, you gotta help me out!
And every road out
Don't stop no matter what happens.
is just another dead end.
They're coming right for us!
George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
So yeah, what better way to cap off Tom Savini Month celebrating the work of the legendary icon in the horror world, just brilliant makeup artist, actor, stuntman, and director. And this is his feature debut. Was this his only feature that he's directed?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't believe so.
Oh, never
He's
mind.
directed, I know he did Tales of the Crypt or Tales of the Dark Side. It's one of the two.
And I believe there may be a Dead Time Stories. There might have been a Masters of Horror.
I'm checking his wiki.
Oh yeah, there's
wiki
also
right
the Theater
now.
Bazaar. Yeah, Theater Bazaar was an anthology, I think. Though he's done quite a bit of anthology work.
So yeah, Tales from the Dark Side, segment in the Theater Bazaar, Night of the Living Dead, Creepshow.
Something
I
called
think this
Nightmare City.
is Nightmare City that's in the work. So I don't know.
Oh.
when that's
Yeah,
coming out,
remake of a goddamn cinematic masterpiece. Do not fuck this up.
Well, more people have seen it than 3 other things that are under his director credit on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
So yeah, so far this is his only feature directorial film. So let's talk about Night of the Living Dead. And this is generally a fairly well considered remake in the grand scheme of things. I think most people generally look at this favorably. Nowadays, at least in the
People
horror
don't
community.
shit on it. We'll say that.
In the horror community, people go, that was solid. That was a decent remake.
I'd rather watch this than a lot of other things. If this was on TV, I would sit and watch the remainder of whatever was on. Possibly.
I think, thinking of this movie, it's interesting because obviously he was trying to balance. They really wanted to just make an homage to the original and respect the original. So they didn't want to go all out, balls to the wall, just the most insane gore zombies you've ever seen, because that would have maybe felt for them too far removed from the original. But it just it's coming out in a time when you've had multiple Evil Deads, you've had Day of the Dead, you've had, Nightmare on Elm Streets, and you've had this is 1990, so the 80s have passed. You've had the most insane special effects of all time already. So this is a very tame, I would say, horror movie in that respect, as far as what you see on the screen.
Tame to the to the detriment of the movie, because I think they could have pulled a few fucks and shits and got this PG-13 and got more people to see it.
Yeah, or
Honestly.
just go the opposite direction. Because when I'm thinking Tom Savini directed version of Night of the Living Dead, I was picturing something much more akin to what Dead Alive is.
Yeah, and that came out 2 years after this, and so
Peter Jackson said, "Hold my beer."
yeah, I mean, I know Tom Savini. This was not everything he wanted to do. He even released a book. I don't know if you guys know this. He released a book about the making of this movie.
How I should have done it.
And he said it was a very hard time.
Yeah, it's called Night of the Living Dead 90, the version you've never seen. And it's like a lot of storyboards and stuff like that, some stuff that was cut, like his original vision. And I still think a majority of what he wanted to do was here. But like he had producers that he had, he wasn't familiar with. George Romero was not on the set because he was filming the
Let's
Dark
talk
Half.
about the producers real quick.
Yeah.
Menahem Golan was one of the producers, very famously from Canon Pictures, very famously kind of hard to work with, very demanding, pisses a lot of people off. If you're not already familiar with him, go watch one of the many Canon Films documentaries. You'll know all you need to know, and why this may have been hell for poor Tom Savini. There's like multiple like versions of this that were thrown out though. Like there's the version in the book, but also there's a work print that's uncensored, but it's only on VHS. It's never been remastered and released for all I know. But Savini's shown it a few times at screenings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to have way more stuff to it, even though he's got on record saying that the gore really wasn't all that much because he was trying to stay truer to the original. But I don't know, man. I don't know if this is the direction I would have gone, but I do think this is an enjoyable throwback to the 50s, much like the Invaders from Mars remake that Golan was even producing because it was a Canon picture.
I guess it doesn't really feel that way though. Like I didn't get throwback vibes from this as much.
Even though it was made in the 60s and not the 50s, it felt like a 50s movie to me. You know what felt like the 50s was the performances.
I don't know. It just feels like the updates they did were very sort of like subtle. Like let's remake Night of the Living Dead, but change like some obvious like sexist things, and then like flip some expectations towards the end. And that seemed like about it. But also, imagine if David Cronenberg had tried to be more respectful to the original The Fly by holding back on gore.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had as great a film. And I think this film could have benefited from way more gore.
Or John Carpenter with The Thing would have been a problem.
Yeah.
I do like some of the changes that were made in this. I mean, some people decry them, but first of all, two important things. One, you don't need to make a criticism of the Vietnam War in 1990, so some things are going to change with what you want to say, especially when it's one of the same writers of the original script. Okay, Russo didn't work with Romero on this script, but Romero was one of the co-writers of the original and did write this script, even though he didn't direct it. So he's saying what he wanted to say there.
I mean, yeah, I'd be interested in reading this book because I kind of want to know what the motivation behind making this was, since Romero did write the script. Like,
It is on Amazon.
what did
I need to check it out.
What were his
Yeah.
motivations thinking? Like, okay, this time I'm going to do this, because I don't really see in the finished film what the driving factor of doing this again was, as far as like stuff that they changed.
I mean, maybe it was just wanting to introduce it to a new audience because it is so faithful to the original. Obviously, there are changes, but it's not like, I mean, you look at something like Night of the Creeps, which came out a few years before, and that was obviously an homage to like Night of the Living Dead and also like sci-fi movies from the 50s, and a really great update and a very like different story, but it's still kind of a zombie movie at the end of the day with like parasite slugs. But like, you know, you look at something like that that's very different from Night of the Living Dead, but still an homage to like Night of the Living Dead and zombie movies, and this is just basically like a scene by scene remake with some character changes, and you know, they changed the ending, but it's very much, you know, like the Psycho remake. You know, it's,
Right.
It's very, very similar.
I feel like that's kind of my just like feelings on remakes in general. Like, if you want to use the same name, that's fine, but do something completely different. Like the reason I think The Thing and The Fly are held up so well as far as like great remakes is because they do go in such a different direction. And you can even do a remake. We were talking about this on in our chat the other day when discussing the impending Vertigo remake. It's like you can do a remake without actually, doing the same movie again, with different people.
I do have to shout out while we're talking about books, Night of the Living Dead, behind the scenes of the most terrifying zombie movie ever by Joe Kane. Pretty entertaining book. It came out like 2010. Hey, I was right. Okay, yeah, it came out like 10 years ago. It's pretty fun. It does not cover the remake, but it does cover the original in excruciating detail. So it is pretty fun to read.
It sounds like fun, yeah.
I was just gonna say, did you guys rewatch the original along like after watching this or before?
No, because I had like just watched it when Joe Bob did it.
Yeah,
pretty recently.
I watch it nearly every October, like
yeah,
and sometimes I'll just like even just put it on like just like in the background, especially around October because it's such like a great background movie. I mean, I know the movie so well, I don't feel like a strong need to rewatch it.
I feel like some of the sameness is to get Romero more money because
Maybe.
you can go back and say that it's stuff from the original that he should be getting some kind of residual from.
Oh no, they like there's like a documentary. There's a fun like 25-minute documentary on YouTube about the making of the 90 version, and one of the things is there was like an issue with the copyright when they put out the original, so they didn't get as much like money as they should have from it. So that was part of the reason of remaking it.
And
so
it's public domain as a result. Anyone could put it out, so anyone could have made a fucking remake, authorized or not. So they wanted to do this so that they could beat everyone to the punch because they were already getting unauthorized sequels like the Return of the Living Dead series coming out.
Yeah.
Which, sorry, Return of the Living Dead Part 1, better movie than this. I'm going to say it.
That's pretty no contest, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the greats. Did you know Night of the Living Dead was originally Night of the Flesh Eaters? And I guess that's already a movie that exists.
Well, Flesh Eaters already is a movie that exists, yeah.
I think that's another element of this is that this is in 1990 and the script feels like was supposed to be made in like 1970 because
but I'm wondering if it reads that way.
Yeah, I don't know. We already had
if it just came out that way.
I mean, imagine like seeing Return of the Living Dead and Night of the Creeps and then going to see this. You just be like, yawn.
or even The Blob. Like look at The Blob, right?
Yeah.
Very awesome homage to a 50s film, but just a kick-ass movie. So great. Yeah.
And like special effects that still have not been like top to this day.
Right. And they're pretty fucked up and gory too.
It's extremely gory. I did think the cast was great. I thought Tony Todd knocked the shit out of this movie.
Wonderful. I think he's the best one. A lot of these performances seem a little too over the top.
No, this is like a role that he's clearly wanted to play for a long time. And honestly, we need more like Tony Todd hero roles. I know he's so great in the villain role, but like he was so great here. I'd love to see him.
Tony
in a
Todd should
horror
just
movie
have
as
been
a
in
lead.
more things in general.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got such a presence to his voice and everything about him.
I also want to thank Tony Todd personally for leaking the release date of Spider-Man 2 for PlayStation 5. Thanks, Tony.
Was he involved in that?
Can't wait to see. He's Venom.
Oh, that's awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
The original, not the upcoming Spider-Man 2. It's coming out this year.
No, the Spider-Man video game that's coming out this year. Yeah.
This year?
Spider-Man 2. Yes.
Oh, you said 2005. I thought.
No, I said Spider-Man 2, the video game. He's Venom in the video
2005
game.
video game, right?
No.
There's one coming out this year, Spider-Man 2.
It's the one that's it's the sequel to the PlayStation Spider-Man. That's the best superhero game I've ever played in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like the update with Barbara. I thought Patricia Tallman was fun. And obviously, and Savini has said this in interviews, he was very inspired by Ripley and Aliens. He'd like just seen it.
Wait, that wasn't Téa Leoni this whole time?
No.
She does look a lot like Téa Leoni.
Yeah.
Taya Leone and
I didn't think her like
Laura Dern.
I don't
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't think her like subversion happened quick enough though. Like she kind of you almost think like, oh no, is this just gonna be the same character from the original for the first few minutes where she's just like running around and freaking out, and then she does kind of have her switch, but
If I do have a nitpick, she loses her glasses, but still is a sharpshooter with that gun.
yeah, I guess
Throughout
she
the rest
really
of the
need them.
movie.
No, but it's because she took off her skirt and put on pants, bro.
I guess she's farsighted. That's why.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
That's where her reading.
A lot of those shots were close range, so it's okay.
I mean, if a head is big enough, you don't need to see the detail of it.
I did.
be able to
I did
shoot
like
it.
that change because in the original, Barbara doesn't do shit. She's just
No,
in
she is
shock
an
the whole
awesome
movie.
character in
I
this
think we'll
movie,
I
though.
think we'll talk about it a little bit later when we talk about what we would have done with our remake
Yeah.
of Night of the Living Dead. But multiple times she is like, guys, we can walk out of here. Like we don't need to we can
Yeah.
just walk by them. We don't even need to run. And she's so right. And it's
And
like
that's ultimately what worked.
right. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, they should have I feel like they should have done that sooner. Like take the movie in a different direction. Again, I know they're just basically following the same sort of structure, but yeah, I would have liked to have seen her just be like, guys, we could just walk out of here, and then they just do it.
Yeah.
Like they just start walking out of the cabin and just killing zombies very easily. That would have been
I
great.
mean, they're the least threatening zombies. Like
Yeah,
really
Tony
are.
Todd really holds his own against them for a very long time.
there's a prolonged sequence after the gas station scene, which we can talk about, where he's just like wrestling and punching zombies for like at least a minute or two, and
Looks
it
so
reminded me
fun.
of the fight scene in They Lived.
It reminded me of the Dead Rising games, and just running through the shopping mall and punching zombies in the face.
I think there's just sort of a clumsiness to this movie, like endearing in a way, but it's like when she's like hitting the Uncle Reg like big zombie, like the guy that owned the farmhouse, and she's just like hitting him with a crowbar, and it just sounds like she's hitting a rubber mask, which she is. You know,
yeah.
like there wasn't a lot of impact there. You just see his head deflate, like
Yeah.
in a Spookies way almost. Which, speaking of Spookies, you know, that has this really great, like, to me, like, all-time great zombie sequence out at the end of the movie that's just very, like, tense. And I don't think anything in this movie, as much as I think it's a quality remake, really touched, like, that sequence at the end of Spookies. And that's considered a pretty silly movie by a lot of people, because there's a lot of goofiness in it. But it has a really great, terrifying zombie sequence, you know? So, like, I don't know. There's just, like, the tension wasn't really there for me. There's tension between everyone in the house, and that was great. I just think the zombie aspect of this was lacking for me.
I do like
They didn't
the
seem like a threat.
I do like the sort of detail of the dead are coming back to life. Okay, so that means that literally the dead are just waking up in their coffins and coming out. So you at the very beginning of the movie, you have the guy who his suit is falling off of him because obviously
That was cool.
They just like put
Yeah.
when they buried this guy, they just put the suit kind of on his front area, and it's like falling off, and you see like his like looks like heart scars or something like that.
I think Tom said he was supposed to have like just come off like an autopsy table. Like that's how they like apparently like when they're putting the clothes on. That's why it was like cut in the back. He had, like,
Right.
he was just getting sewed up, so he
That's-
was like coming off an autopsy table.
I feel like that's a thing because in most zombie movies, it's like a virus or something that just affects living people, and everyone who dies from the bite is how they come back. But the idea of like everyone who's ever been dead just starts to rise from the grave. I guess they do that in Return of the Living Dead. But
But
I
if
don't
they
know.
bite you, you still also become one.
Right. But having just
Yeah.
like literally, I guess, people coming out of their graves like as already fully formed zombies is kind of a cool idea aspect. Which again, they
It's
do
like,
do in Return of the Living Dead, but still.
Yeah. I just wish that I don't know. I just wish that the zombies had a little more oomph to them in this movie. I feel like I would have liked
Yeah.
it more.
They don't. There's nothing. No zombie really stands out. Or I guess there's that one that eats worms and a mouse.
Oh yeah,
Or
the one
mouse.
with the mouse in the mouth. Yeah. Otherwise, they just look like
Dips it below frame so he can switch it out with the fake mouse.
They look like people you'd see at a farmer's market, but dead.
Yeah, did Tom Savini? I'm guessing Tom Savini like supervised a lot of the makeup on this because that's the thing that for me that feels like the most surprisingly disappointing is from a Tom Savini directed movie. Like there's not much like showstopper effects or
I don't
anything.
think he wasn't hands on with it. I think he had some looks that he wanted, and he gave it to his team. But he also wanted to give them reign to kind of do their own makeups. So I think it was just his directorial debut. I think he kind of had his hands full.
Sure.
And I don't think his budget was great. Mm-hmm. Even though he did better with less, probably on Day and Dawn of the Dead, specifically Day.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been interesting to see because I know George Romero could not be there on the set. He was filming The Dark Half, and it would have been interesting to see how this movie would have turned out if he had more support with Romero there, and he would have gotten more of what he wanted into the movie.
It'd be like if Roger Deakins directed a movie and the cinematography was just okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the one zombie who's got to have his body really buried in the ground and his legs are in front of him, kicking around. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's Savini's thing. He likes, he likes to kind of bring that magic illusion aspect into his effects work and have people hiding in the ground and make you think, how did they actually accomplish that? Which you really see in Day of the Dead.
Yeah, I bet I can just imagine him watching Dead Alive a year later and being like, "Fuck."
I don't think that's what he was trying to do here. He wasn't trying to innovate in that way. He wanted to just do a love letter to a movie that, to obviously a dear friend of his and mentor to him, and do that justice. And I didn't think he wanted to do something so drastically different from it. And again, I do think the cast worked here. I liked Cooper, Tom Towles, who I first saw in I think Seinfeld and as Officer Grillo in Warriors of Virtue. I know he had a very storied career, but he's
Warriors of Virtue, the kangaroo movie.
Yes, he's
wow.
He's the side villain to the main guy. I'm forgetting the actor's name who played the main villain, but that's a silly movie. But I recognized him for that. But right away, this is one of those characters that first comes on screen. You're like, oh fuck this dude, just instantly. He just has that the way they make him up, his just expression. He's just you can tell right away this is the asshole. And it's even more so than the original, which is kind of the guy who plays Cooper in the original is very much kind of in a gray area. He hasn't become a villain right away. He's a bit of an antagonist, but he's more agreeable until the end of the movie, So it was an interesting shift there, and I think it was him and Tony Todd had a really fun dynamic, and they're just fucking hate each other.
Yeah, they're just being dicks to each other the whole time, and it's great. Yeah.
They I did think, watching the original, I was surprised there's They did make some good cuts, like Dwayne Jones, Barbara, she's acting nuts and she slaps him, and Dwayne Jones, who plays Ben in the original, just punches her and knocks her out. She's just acting crazy, and stuff like that probably wouldn't have fly.
Yeah. Not a good look.
Good cut. Yeah. No, so
kind of subversive for 1960 because of the people involved, obviously. You would never see an African American treating a white woman like that in a movie back then, and expect them to get away with it.
You can feel that there's probably some sort of underlying racial tension there in the original, and maybe to an extent, because this still takes place in the 50s, 60s. This movie
does it?
Right.
If you look at the cars and the houses and how the people are dressed, I think it's still supposed to be.
I can't remember what the TV looked like.
It was older.
TV was pretty old, and it was in black and white.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I felt like they were deliberately going for the scene where you see the news anchor on TV reading the events that are happening. It's they're clearly doing a John F. Kennedy news announcement thing, where he's doing the exact same movements that the news anchor announcing John F. Kennedy's death did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was interesting, watching the original. The news segments are a big portion of that movie. They very much minimize that in this. I mean, the character Cooper's trying to hide the news report from people. He doesn't want people to hear everything that's going on.
He doesn't want them to know that his daughter is definitely going to become a zombie.
Yeah, so he's trying to hide that from people, and then he destroys the TV, and when he's tangling with Ben. And but it's very much there's prolonged news segments in the original movie, and they certainly add to the atmosphere.
All law enforcement agencies and the military have been organized to search out and destroy the marauding ghouls. The Survival Command Center at the Pentagon has disclosed that a ghoul can be killed by a shot in the head or a heavy blow to the skull. Officials are quoted as explaining that since the brain of a ghoul has been activated by the radiation, the plan is kill the brain and you kill the ghoul.
And I think that's what's missing from this movie for me. You just look at some of the, I mean, the cinematography in the original is beautiful, but you just look at the shots of the zombies like out in the yard and the smoke and there's like a glow and it's very haunting.
Yeah,
and
I
that
mean,
isn't here.
You just look
know?
at the original. I mean, you look at the opening like 10 minutes of this movie and you're like, oh yeah, like black and white definitely helps the opening of the movie because this is like a bright, beautiful, sunny day and they're like right struggling in the graveyard and it's just like this isn't atmospheric at all.
No.
The original
has
has such a great opening to it and the black and white just like totally suits it.
And to be fair, Tom Savini originally, he wanted to like start in black and white and maybe segue into color at some point. I think that was part of the original idea he had. He wanted apparently Patricia Tallman's character, Barbara, to maybe have an inner monologue at one point. And he had a different idea. I mean, there's like a lot of effects were cut. The MPAA, I know, cut a lot of what he wanted to do out, or a lot of, they were like saying you're getting an X rating. And I'm like, did they see the movies that came out in the 80s? I don't understand.
Yeah.
How did this movie approach an X rating? Did you see The Blob? Did you see any like 80s horror movie?
It's totally just arbitrary.
There was like nothing, and I couldn't see anything in this movie that could have approached an X rating when everything that came out in the 80s that came out. Like, what?
By the
what's
time
going on?
if you get to the 90s, everything is a lot more sanitized in horror. I mean, just like look at the progression of the Friday the 13th movies. Like,
Right.
by the time you get to like Friday the 13th Part 8, it's like so sanitized and like very not as much gore as you would think. They're just like cutting movies to the quick.
I just can't imagine what they made him cut when you have like the Elm Street movies that are coming out. You have Friday the 13th. You have Day of the Dead, which was 1,000 times gorier than this movie.
Yeah, but that was released unrated.
I mean, even if you look at Nightmare on Elm Street, though, the later ones are a lot less gory than the earlier ones. I think as the 80s go through, the strangle, the hold on like gore is getting tighter and tighter, and like parents are really like forcing studios to cut back, and movies are getting a lot less gory as the 80s like wind down.
Also, there's a vendetta against Tom Savini and George Romero at this point for successfully releasing 2 unrated films and making a lot of money off of them.
Is there just something about like a bullet going through a head and you seeing blood splatter behind that's seen as more graphic than like a blob monster eating somebody and devouring their flesh and flesh coming out their
Possibly.
bones?
I mean, that was 2 years before this, so
because that's a lot of what was cut was like, the escape wounds and things like that.
Nothing is more American than guns and shooting people, Zach.
But I don't think this was cut because it wasn't filmed. But like we can talk about the gas station scene, which is kind of silly in the original too. It's one of the sillier moments because Johnny is he grabs the freaking like the gas pump and he just like he throws it on the car. It like splatters it on the car. In that movie, Dwayne Jones, Ben actually shoots the lock off too, but it doesn't explode anything yet because there's no, I guess, gas to explode it wherever he shot. But then, it gets set on fire and it's prolonged. And he's trying to get his girl out of the car and she's struggling and then it blows up. Here, it's just like right away he shoots with the
they wanted a bigger explosion
blows
this
up.
time, right?
No, it's effective. Don't fire a live round at a gas station, everybody. Not a good idea. But I guess originally Tom's vision for it was like the boyfriend, I think his name is Tom, gets lit on fire, and then he like walks over to the car and like reaches out for his girlfriend or something, and then there's probably another explosion or something. But he wanted that kind of scene with like him like on fire, like his half
in
his
this
face
one
gone.
and the original, it's like if you blink, you will miss their deaths, and I almost did every single time.
The relationship is more effective in the original. If there's there's a good like heartfelt, warm scene between the two in the original movie, and here it's not bad. It's just it was a little more effective in the original, but the changes they made were just not like drastic enough. I would have liked to. I mean, you guys want to get into what we would have changed if we were going to remake Night of the Living Dead?
Everything, Jesus Christ. First, we got to give our ratings before we go into our weird versions that we're gonna do.
Yeah, let's get into it. Okay. We can talk about the ending. Should we talk about the ending before we get into our ratings? Because, I mean, they very much play up the who are the real monsters angle here with the, you have all the rednecks trying to, hanging the zombies up.
We are them. They are us.
Yeah, you definitely had to say it. I mean, yeah. It's great. It's a good thing she said that out loud.
It was probably, probably not necessary.
Because I definitely wouldn't have gotten it otherwise.
They're us. We're them, and they're us.
Say what?
Oh, and we should give a shout out to Bill Moseley as Johnny. He was fun. And
I wanted his zombie to come back. Where the fuck, man?
Yeah.
He does in the original. Russell Streiner was also, he had a cameo in this as the sheriff that you see in the background saying a couple things, apparently, the original Johnny. But Bill Moseley was great in his brief runtime, and at least his death was a little more realistic in the original.
He is
barely falls
hamming
in a
it
rock.
up. He makes the actor in the original look like Shakespearean.
He straight up got $1 million babied in this one, man. Oof.
He saw the original one and saw what that guy was doing with his gloves. Just like he was making a meal out of his gloves, and he was like, "I'm gonna take that to the nth degree. I'm just gonna be messing with these gloves the whole
It was good.
time."
He made the most of that time. Yeah, both fun portrayals. That's still one of the best characters in Night of the Living Dead. Final ratings, everybody. Chris, what was your rating for Night of the Living Dead in 1990?
I gave it a 2 out of 5. It's short and it went by fairly well, but there's a reason I didn't remember anything about this movie because it's not very memorable.
Okay, Casey.
I gave it a 3, and that most of that's for the first 20 minutes, which I think are superb. And then it kind of slows down and never stops slowing down after that.
It moves so fast.
Yeah,
except
like
for the
very
opening. Once they get into the house, that always like slows down. Even in the original, I think it slows down a little too much.
Oh yeah. But
and
you're
then it
getting
picks back up once you realize there are more people in the house. But
I feel like it's more interesting interpersonally in the original as well. But I gave this a 3 because I don't know. I think it's pretty entertaining, but not like a great movie. Like I will watch the shit out of this, but I probably won't need to watch the shit out of it for like another 2 years or something.
Yeah. I'm with Casey on the rating. I'm a 3 out of 5. I think it's a quality remake. I like the cast. I think the cast is uniformly good. There's some interesting elements here. I like some of the changes they made. It's just not exciting enough. It wasn't quite suspenseful enough for me. And I just thought the zombies were lacking and the atmosphere wasn't there. And again, like you look at the original, it has a really great score, and that was missing for me here too. Except the end credit score, which was awesome. The credits,
and the opening credits too. Like
I
would
have liked more. I would have liked more of that throughout the movie.
The version I saw on YouTube literally like stops right before the credits, so I missed that.
Oh, the credit scores! It sounds like a really great like horror like TV show anthology theme. It's awesome. I would have liked to hear more of that. So yeah, those are my issues with it. But yeah, if we were gonna do a Night of the Living Dead remake or a reboot, how would we do it? What would we have changed?
I had 2 soft ideas on this.
I've got a couple ideas too.
All right, Chris, you go first.
Go for it, Chris.
Okay, so the first thing I thought of was, all right, so we want to subvert Barbara's character. So what we do is we set this like more in the modern age. Mm-hmm. Everyone's aware of zombies, so like zombies exist within the pop culture, and you have Barbara as our main character. And she's a girl who loves killing zombies in video games. She's obsessed with zombie movies. And basically, when the zombie apocalypse starts happening at the beginning of the movie, she's like, I've been waiting for this my whole life. And she's actually even pumped about it. She's actually excited about it. And she basically becomes like the zombie killing hero of the movie. Like she's just insanely good at killing zombies. I realize this is slightly similar to Zombieland. Then we have Woody Harrelson's character is like he's like really good at killing zombies or something like that. I don't remember Zombieland quite as well, but it's different. It's gonna be different. It's gonna feel different.
Very different feel from that.
Right. Okay. I meant different from Zombieland. It's not gonna be like Zombieland.
Okay.
Anyway, my other soft idea was because I thought that the ending of this was actually like scarier than most of the movie because rednecks scare the shit out of me. I live in Arkansas, where I'm surrounded by them every time I go to Walmart, and it's always nerve-wracking. And so my idea is Night of the Living rednecks, where instead of zombies, you just have like a horde of rednecks who try to just take over and kill all the same people.
Redneck Zombies is going to be my Casey pick if that comes up then.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, we almost talked about that once. All right, Casey, what are your big ideas for Night of the Living Dead?
Okay, so first of all, I'd have Barbara be like a modern teenager. I'd dial it. I'd make it a little wider area. I'd have kind of like a housing development with varying neighbors so that we can have interesting little character bits. And I would use it as kind of an allegory to some of the stuff that's been happening recently. So there would be rednecks, but they would be the ones thoroughly convinced that the zombie apocalypse is a hoax. And they would they did their own research on the zombie apocalypse, and they've decided that it's just a hoax and that the FDA is wrong. And I want it to be kind of a statement of the isolation that people had during COVID. So you're safe in your own house, but the more you get out, the more that you realize you're surrounded by shitty people. And the more that you interact with the people, the less that you wish you did, even though you're facing a common threat. And also,
so this is just reality.
pretty much. And I'd have it that, you know, we could have got rid of the zombie apocalypse in 2 weeks if everyone followed recommendations, but instead it'll take 2 years plus to get gone.
Gee, that doesn't sound familiar at all.
I feel like we
Yeah.
have similar ideas, Casey.
Yeah, I
feel
feel
we
like
can combine these.
I feel like I'm a little jaded because I had COVID just like a month ago.
You know, I will say about the original and the remake, I did like that they both ended with the still photos, which was very creepy and like kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre-ish. I like that kind of the display of still photos. It's
And my still photo would be the guy with his ass hanging out's ass. That would be, you know, that second zombie with the half suit. It would just be a close up of his ass. Credits.
That is when
But
the
I
movie,
do the most serious movie possible before that.
That's
Yeah.
the exact moment that my wife's got her attention was focused onto into the movie.
Zach is muted right now.
Oh, I was muted the whole time. That was hilarious, Casey. Just the filmmaker mooning the audience at the end of the movie.
Yeah, after the most serious social commentary zombie film they've ever seen in their lives. Just a big zombie ass crack right in their face.
That's when the title pops up.
From inside the butt. It like shoots out.
We need to get away from the farmhouse.
Yeah.
Enough at the farmhouse. You
Yeah.
know, make it an apartment building, make it a fucking coffee shop, something different. You know, I just want to get away from the farmhouse.
A video store.
A video store. I
have
also
a similar idea.
I want to see zombies bursting out of graves, and that's what I wish they like. I want to see like just rows of zombies.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
give me
yeah.
the
I want
thriller.
some
Give me the thriller
spooky
stuff. You know,
shit too. Yes.
like we need more of that. Just in the zombie genre in general. I need more grave bursting. I need more hands coming out of graves, climbing
Really
out.
expensive. And
You know,
dangerous.
I need the midnight hour scene there. So that's what I would like to see, more of that kind of stuff. Update different location. I like making Barbara the active protagonist, and I don't think you need to change much with the Ben character because he's always awesome. But like update the character, update the locations, give me more graveyard bursting out of the graveyard bursting. I'm gonna
Sounds like you just want a
coin that
supercut
phrase.
of zombies coming out of graves.
Yeah, dude.
That's
just
basically it.
Just like a Ruben Galindo Jr. movie, man. We'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just a little more, just make the zombies a little more active, a little more swarmy. I don't need I Am Legend zombies, but
Oh. Or World War Z.
yeah.
Trying to think of a scenario where you could make the zombies the protagonist, where you see it from their point of view.
What, like warm bodies?
Yeah, but not lame. Sorry, warm bodies.
Sorry if I sound like my nose is stuffy during this episode, guys. And everyone listening.
We're all there. Well, I'm there also. Chris has got some nice weather going on.
I still have like a cough
Yeah.
in my throat. It's been there
It's
for
been,
like
it's been
several
it's been a
weeks.
blast. But before we get to business and choose our next theme, I did want to throw a couple just news stories out there and just get your guys' thoughts on them. Just on some classic franchises that are getting updates, reboots. So we have it was just announced that Linda Blair is going to be in the Exorcist sequel, whatever reboot that's coming out. She's going to be in it for a few minutes, along with the actress who played her mom in the original movie. Apparently,
Whatever happened to the Exorcist TV show? That was a thing.
Yeah, it was.
Guess nobody really
I don't
cared.
know. But yeah, so, I mean, that's cool. I mean, I'm glad that Linda Blair is going to be involved in some capacity. That makes me feel a little better. I wish it was being directed by someone else, but, you know, nothing against David Gordon Green. I just would like to see a different creative person at the helm.
Yeah, I have no interest in this.
The thing I'm more excited about, though, is I was reading about the Crystal Lake TV series, and I guess I didn't realize this, but apparently because it's a TV show, they can use Jason because it's not a movie.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And what's the final girl in the original Friday the 13th?
Alice.
Yeah, but the actress, she's involved in it. I know. So that's cool. Adrienne King. So she's going to be involved with it. So I'm very looking forward to this. I know Brian Fuller has a great track record, even though I didn't see Hannibal, but I loved Pushing Daisies. So I'm very much excited to see how this series shapes out. And the fact that they can use Jason basically in any form is awesome. So I think he described it as a pre-remake quel, sort of, like without elaborating at all. So I don't know what that means, but I'm looking forward to it. And he said you'll see many kind of familiar iterations of Jason in it.
They need to take a leaflet out of the video game / current trends and make like multiple Jasons at once. So just have like every Jason from every iteration of the movies.
Yeah.
Join forces and be in the same universe.
That's coming out in 2024, so that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Also very very excited to hear that Evil Dead Rise got such great reviews in the festival.
dude.
Was it just that?
Unless
I
you're a
was
drunk
not
asshole.
expecting that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a video of some dude like at a panel with Bruce Campbell and like saying "fuck this movie," and Bruce is like, "Dude, get the fuck out of here."
Man, I know people who were at that screening, and I'm very jealous that I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trailers look awesome, so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Hey, after the remake being as good as it was, I'm down, even though
I need to watch
I'm
the
not
remake
expecting
again.
things.
Yeah.
Unless you're our friend Reed, it's the one movie I know that he hates.
Well, Reed isn't like a big horror movie person, to be fair. So
Yeah, but I've never heard him say he didn't like a movie until the Evil Dead remake.
It feels like the new one is like going to be very similar in tone to the remake, and I kind of wish it was more campy, like followed the trajectory of the movies, and make this one more campy than the last one. But
I think it's a little campier than the last one. It's supposed to be a little closer to the original.
Zoomers
from what
don't
I've heard.
understand camp, and this is a problem.
it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, Zoomers, yeah, teenagers, pretty much.
We need to make a TV series called Camp, and it's like campy horror.
To explain to the youngins what camp is.
Yes.
Yeah, I had to do this because kitsch was our vocab word of the day. So I
yeah.
really had to hit this hard. I'm like, have you guys seen the 60s Batman show? That is camp. It was on purpose. Because when I was a kid, I didn't get that was camp. I thought it was just shitty because it was from the 60s.
Have you seen the movie Sleepaway Camp? That is camp.
Oh. That movie's a little canceled.
Yeah, that would not fly today.
No, not at all. But I'd still like that it exists.
Oh, it's a classic.
And plus, Angela is such a nice person in real life. One of the nicest people I've ever met.
And come on, Angela. If it was Angela versus Jason, Angela wins. No contest.
Dude. Kid Jason? Yeah. Come on. That's what I worry about with Crystal Lake, is that we're just going to get Kid Jason and it's going to be like Bates Motel.
In Brian Fuller, I trust. You will see adult Jason in some form, in some way.
And
We'll see.
the finale, like Gotham. There's too many shows doing this. They're going to Smallville Jason and it's going to be fucking annoying.
I think it'll turn out well. It'll be good. A24 is producing it too, I think so.
Unproven in the television fields, man. A24 is good for movies, but TV, we don't know yet. That's the problem.
A24 is ruling the world right now. So we just live in it. It's their world. But we do. It is that time, everybody. We have a new month coming up, which means we need a new theme. Before we do this, I just want to... I hope you guys are enjoying this new structure. We're far from the first podcast to do like a randomly pick a new episode subject or theme or whatever, I do want to give a shout out to a podcast that certainly was part of the inspiration for me, at least as far as restructuring the show. And that is the Escape from Walt Disney podcast hosted by Tony Goldmark. I really enjoy that show. That's a show where every month or every episode, they just look at something on Disney Plus generally. And at the end of the episode, they will randomly they have like a master list of everything on Disney Plus, and they'll randomly pick a new thing. So a really great show. Listen to that show after you listen to all of Chris's Disney podcast. Can you hear the pod
it sounds like me and Melody picked the wrong format.
No, I like what you guys do.
I would like to just have this master list of everything on Disney Plus because their organization sucks.
I mean, they have like it's Tony, and he has like he has a rotating panel of reoccurring guests and stuff like that. But it's a really fun show. And actually, they do have one theme month every year, which I think is like in March. And the theme this month is this year they're doing is that's voted on by their audience is not on Disney Plus month, which is funny. But it's a good show. It's a great show, and I just want to give them a shout out because that's at least part of this is our kind of spin on it. And we're also by far there's been other horror podcasts that I know have done this kind of random, lotto spin, pick a random thing, randomly pick what you're going to cover next. But it's a good format, and so this is our take on it. We're doing different themes every month, and then we kind of decide what we're going to cover from there. But I hope you guys are enjoying this. And if you want to contribute a theme or a subject, write us at anothermishbowlpodcast@gmail.com. Send us a message on Instagram at AmpHorror. And if we like it and it's not on our list already, maybe we'll put it on there.
Yeah, and then you're at the mercy of the dice. Okay, It doesn't mean we'll do it right away. Nothing skips the list unless a movie comes out that we have to talk about.
So right now, Casey, I need you to. If you want to do the roll of the dice, I need a 41-sided roll here.
Roll 1.
So we made a couple adjustments.
Okay.
Totally a die that does not exist in real life.
Okay, so how about this? How about I'll roll a D100, and then if it's anything over 41, I'll just keep rolling.
Okay, if you want it, go for it. Because there's a couple that are crossed off, so.
I got 18.
18. Okay. Interesting. All right.
What is it?
We're going to be looking at some witch movies, everybody. Next month, we will be looking at witches.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
No hocus pocus. No hocus pocus.
Yeah.
No hocus pocus, but there's a classic I got to get in there.
April is Witch Month on Another Mishbowl podcast. So, hell yeah, stay tuned for that. Double, toil and trouble, Eye of Newt, and all that fun. Okay.
We've thoroughly offended all of our Wiccan
And
listeners.
everything else.
Yeah. It's Wiccan time, everybody. Who can do a good witch screech?
It's also my
Perfect.
crypt keeper, though.
All right, let's plug our social media so we can get out of here. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at AMP Horror. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube as well. And any platform that you listen to us on, make sure to follow us so you can get the episodes right as they come out. Chris, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Chris Pistol, and on YouTube at Chris Watches Movies. I make videos about Disney movies and cinema history and all that cool stuff.
Yes, you can check out his Disney podcast, Can You Hear the Pod Tonight, on his YouTube channel. Is it on any streaming platforms yet, or just YouTube?
No, just YouTube.
Just YouTube exclusive, everybody. You heard it here first.
Yes.
All right, Casey, where can they find you? Where can they stalk you?
Find me at Lucha Gringo on Twitter, Letterboxd, and PlayStation Network. I will crush your dreams in WWE 2K23. Zach's so scared he hasn't even bought the game. Rock, Zach. Rock.
Okay. You can find me on my personal Instagram, Twitter at Earth2Zach, Earth, the number 2, Zach, Z-A-K, and Letterboxd as well. Sometimes I will post reviews there about other things like John Wick, which I haven't seen yet. I need to see John Wick 4, dang it. Maybe I'll watch it today. We'll see. Chris saw it.
So good.
Is it the best John Wick yet? I just rewatched all of them, and
I like 1 and 3 a lot for different reasons, but I'll say this. It's the most John Wick movie.
Okay.
It's the most fucking John Wick movie. It's so
Is the adjudicator in it? Because I didn't see her in the credits.
She is not. She did not come back.
Interesting.
Or they did not
Weird.
come back.
Weird. I'm
Yeah, I
surprised
know.
about
This
that.
movie, this series, like I the only like qualms with it was they didn't bring back John Leguizamo. He like bowed
That's
out
surprising,
after part 2. And then
Weird.
they
He wasn't in
also
part three, was he?
Jason Mantzoukas doesn't come back, which sucks because I feel like I love the John Wick series. Don't get me wrong, but I do feel like there needs to be a little bit more humor injected into it. I mean, there's like some funny moments in this one that are mostly just kind of like, dry one-liners, But I don't know. I feel like there could be a little bit more humor.
Lawrence Fishburne, is he in 4?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I think
Oh,
Mantzoukas
okay.
needs to be in more movies in general.
That's true.
Lawrence is so good in 3, man. I'm not going to repeat the line, but it's so good.
Yeah.
He's just like
Yeah.
chewing up
And
every
oh
scene
my
in the
god.
movie.
And we get. I mean, this one has my favorite like newcomers of any of the movies. Donnie Yen just
Hitman.
steals the movie and walks away from it. I mean,
Nice.
it's so good. Very
I wanna
satisfying.
I'm
see
excited.
But sciatica is not letting me sit in a movie theater for 3
Yeah,
hours
what up,
right
Casey? I was like, Casey, let's see John Wick. He's like, I can't. My back, man. I get it, though. I get it.
now. Yeah, it's
been
been
there.
fucked, dude. It's getting better, but yeah, not a good time. But hey, I am off for a full week, so maybe I'll feel better later in the week.
All right, so that was our episode. That was Tom Savini Month. Tom, you are the man. I will never
Yeah, we
be as
love you,
cool as
Tom.
you, and I'm okay with that. Hopefully we can get you on the show sometime. It was an honor to cover some of your work. I hope you didn't get mad at us for our thoughts on this movie. I liked it more than Chris did. So,
You can get mad at
but
me, it's
yeah,
fine.
maybe we'll run into you at Monster Palooza, Tom. I know you're
Yeah,
going to
Tom,
be there. So.
you're my hero, and I love you, and please don't be mad at us.
So I hope you guys enjoyed our look at some of Tom Savini's work. And I hope you're excited about next month when we look at Witches.
Come back, witches.
I have no idea what we're going to cover, but this should be fun. So I'll see you guys there.
Make me
for
say
another
witches a lot.
miserable podcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye, witches.